Ah yes, it's time for another album ranking. Last week it was Mork Grinning. This week it's none other than the progressive metal giant Opeth. This band has become one of my all-time favourites, though it took me years to truly appreciate them. When I first heard Opeth, I wasn't immediately drawn to their style. However, they're like a sponge. The more you fucking listen, the more you absorb their creativity. Let me be clear, there isn't a single bad Opeth album. Each one has its own charms and strengths. That said, there are some I don't revisit often, though when I do, I still enjoy them. For this ranking, we're also including their 2024 release, The Last Will and Testament, their latest album. Spoiler alert, it's gonna rank fucking high, maybe even above some older ones. It was my favourite album of the year last year, but how will The Last Will and Testament compare to the rest of their discography? Before we begin, drop your own rankings in the comments below. This is going to be a long one, so grab some popcorn or make yourself a hot cuppa. And let's begin. So, we have 14 albums to rank. We have to keep it short, but this will be a long video because we don't want this video lasting for hours. Unfortunately, every discography has to have a weakest link. And for me, that spot goes to Heritage. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciate Opeth's willingness to experiment, and I understand why some fans love this fucking album, but personally, I just can't fully get into it. With Heritage, Opeth took a drastic turn away from their, progressive death metal roots, fully embracing a 1970s inspired progressive rock sound influenced by bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and even King Crimson. While elements of classic Opeth remain, especially Mikael Åkerfeldt's clean vocals, which sound fantastic, the overall shift makes this album feel almost like a different band. The musicianship on Heritage is top notch and the songwriting is solid, but it lacks the intensity and emotional depth that I love in their earlier work. The transition from heavy and atmospheric sound to pure prog rock was jarring for me, and as much as I respect the artistry, I simply don't find myself returning to this album as often as the others. That said, there are still some great songs here. The Devil's Orchid is probably the most well-known track off this album, and it's one I occasionally revisit. It has a nice groove and the instrumentation is impressive, even if it doesn't quite hit the same way the heavier material does. Folklore is another fucking strong and weird song featuring some beautiful melodies and a captivating flow. I feel The Dark also stands out with its eerie, delicate opening that eventually builds into a more dynamic piece. The issue isn't that it isn't that Heritage is bad. It's not. It's well crafted and an interesting departure, but compared to the rest of Opeth's incredible discography, it just doesn't reach the same heights for me. I still like it, but it's the album I revisit the least, and something has to come last. And once again, Pale Communion finds itself in a similar spot as Heritage. It's a good album, but not great. While there are some fantastic melodies and strong compositions here, it's not one that I find myself revisiting often. Some tracks feel overly drawn out, making parts of the album a bit of a slow burn. That said, Pale Communion is definitely heavier than Heritage, which is one thing I appreciate about it. While the death metal elements are still completely absent from this, there's a more dynamic and layered approach to the progressive rock influences. Åkerfeldt's vocals are excellent as always, and the overall musicianship is impressive, but that signature heavy Opeth sound is long gone by this point. There are still some great fucking moments on this record. Eternal Rains Will Come is a strong opener, setting the tone with its rich instrumentation, unpredictable shifts. Moon Above, Sun Below is hypnotic in its structure, and while it's long, the musicianship makes it a fascinating listen. Voice of Treason stands out with its dramatic and cinematic feel, and Faith in Others is a beautiful melancholic closer. There's plenty to enjoy on Pale Communion, and I know a lot of people love it, but when compared to Opeth's older albums, it just doesn't hold a candle. It really doesn't. It's a well-crafted album with some great moments, but it lacks that raw intensity and emotional depth that made Opeth's classic records so legendary. Now we move on to Sorceress. Yes, I have this album. It was released in 2016 and it's a good one. Opeth sounds noticeably heavy on this album compared to their previous compared to their previous two releases, Heritage and Pale Communion. The production has a slightly muddy vintage feel, but it actually works well with the album's overall aesthetics. This is an album I find myself returning to often, and I really enjoy the songwriting here. The musicianship is always top notch, and there are some genuinely heavy riffs that stand out. The title track, Sorceress, immediately grabs your attention with its sludgy, almost doom-like riffing, one of the heaviest moments. Strange Brew is another fantastic song featuring a blend of eerie atmospheric sections and a sudden burst of intensity. The song's unpredictability and shifting dynamics makes it one of the album's most, compelling moments, sort of. Era is another highlight, bringing in a heavier, more driving energy that helps close the album on a strong note. While there are still no death growls, Åkerfeldt sticks to clean vocals throughout. This album feels like it has renewed energy that was missing from Heritage and Pale Communion. The band also continues to experiment, but this time the execution feels more confident and refined. Sorceress is an improvement over its predecessors and has a lot more to offer. From this point on, in the ranking, the albums just keep getting fucking better and better. Next up is in Cauda Venenum. Yes, fucking love that artwork there. So this was released in 2019, and you know what? The album has grown on me more and more with each listen. It just keeps getting better. While there are still no death growls, Åkerfeldt's vocals have more grit and intensity than on previous records, which adds a new level of power. The songwriting on this album is excellent, blending progressive rock with a heavier edge. Heart in Hand is a terrific song filled with progressive flair and great solos, making it an instant highlight. Next of Kin is another banger, packed with intricate riffs and dynamic shifts that showcase Opeth's ability to craft such engaging fucking compositions. Then there's Love Lorn Crime, which features one of the best guitar solos Opeth has ever written. This emotionally driven song is one of my favorites on the album, delivering a stunning balance of melancholic beauty and powerful musicianship. Charlatan is a heavy fucking track filled with fantastic melodies and a sense of urgency that keeps it engaging from start to finish. The Garita is just a strange song, it really is, but it somehow works within the album's overall atmosphere. It has an eerie, almost jazzy feel that adds an unexpected but welcome twist to the track list. Finally, All Things Will Pass closes the album in an epic fashion. The outro is absolutely incredible. The sweeping melodies, soaring guitars, and the use of keyboards all elevate this song to something truly fucking special. It's a breathtaking way to end the record. One of the most interesting aspects of In Cauda Venenum is that Opeth released it in both English and Swedish versions. The Swedish version, with its native language lyrics, adds a completely different dynamic to the album, making it feel even more immersive. I love both versions, but the Swedish one brings a unique authenticity that enhances such a great experience. In Cauda Venenum is an album that keeps on growing with each listen, proving that Opeth still has plenty of creativity and depth to offer. So in Cauda Venenum. Opeth's debut album, Orchid, is a fantastic introduction to their signature blend of progressive death metal and gothic atmosphere. It was released in 1995. It showcases their early ambition, blending intricate compositions with raw intensity. While some fans place this album lower in their rankings, I absolutely love it. One of the standout aspects of Orchid is Åkerfeldt's guitar work, which is both haunting and fucking complex. The gothic undertones add a unique character to the album, especially in Silhouette, an instrumental piece driven by a beautifully eerie piano section. It's a track that might not immediately scream Opeth, but it highlights their early creativity. The opening track, In Mist She Was Standing, is an fucking epic. It really is. That immediately establishes the band's dynamic songwriting, balancing melodic, melancholic passages with bursts of blackened aggression. Under the Weeping Moon is another highlight. It really is, with its hypnotic opening riff that lingers in your mind long after you've listened. Forest of October continues the album's atmospheric depth, delivering some of the most memorable riffs and solos on the record. Oh, that song's amazing. The transitions between acoustic moments and full-blown death metal fury are executed masterfully. The Twilight in My Robes features some of Åkerfeldt's most blackened vocal performances, adding an extra layer of harshness to the already bleak soundscape. What sets Orchid apart from the rest of Opeth's, discography is its raw, melancholic beauty. The blackened vocal delivery combined with the gothic and doom-like elements makes this a truly unique album. While the later records would refine and expand their sound, Orchid remains a dark, atmospheric gem that deserves its high ranking in my list. So one album I actually don't have, which I fucking thought I did, is My Arms, Your Hearse. It was released in 1998, a pivotal album in Opeth's discography where their signature sound fully takes shape. While it took me a while to fully appreciate this record, one day it just clicked, and since then it has steadily climbed up in my rankings. Unlike Orchid and Morningrise, which had a more blackened edge to the vocals, My Arms, Your Hearse leans fully into like the death metal vocals, with Åkerfeldt's growls becoming more deeper and more even fucking aggressive. This album introduces a much heavier, more compact sound compared to its predecessors, featuring shorter songs that still maintains Opeth's progressive complexity. One of the standout elements of this album is its story-driven concept. My Arms, Your Hearse tells a tale of a man who dies but remains as a ghost, watching over his loved ones, unable to communicate or move on. This tragic narrative adds an emotional weight to the album, complementing its moody and melancholic soundscapes. The music reflects the turmoil of the ghost's journey, alternating between sorrowful acoustic sections and crushingly heavy passages. The album kicks off with Prologue, a brief but haunting introduction that sets the tone before launching into April Ethereal. This track is a storm of atmospheric riffs, dynamic tempo shifts, and some of Åkerfeldt's most ferocious vocals. The lyrics reinforce the spectral, sorrowful theme, making it an incredible opening statement. When the song When follows, blending beautifully clean sections with massive doomy guitar passages. The song's structure is unpredictable, yet flows effortlessly with some of Opeth's finest melodic moments. The Amen Corner continues the album's brooding tone, showcasing intricate guitar work and some of Martin Lopez's most impressive drumming. His intricate fills and jazzy influences are evident throughout the album. One of the most beloved songs on this album, one of my personal favorites, is Demon of the Fall. Åkerfeldt's vocal performance here is absolutely insane. His growls are raw, unrelenting, and full of anguish. The way the song builds tension only to explode into some of Opeth's most intense fucking moments makes it a true classic. While the album is largely heavy, it still features moments of breathtaking beauty, particularly in songs like Credence, a stunning acoustic piece that serves as a melancholic interlude amidst the chaos. This song proves Opeth's ability to craft delicate, emotional music even within a primary death metal framework. My Arms, Your Hearse was a turning point for Opeth, marking a shift toward a more cohesive and polished sound while retaining their progressive ambitions. I originally ranked it lower, but over the years it has earned its place much higher in my list. I'm placing Damnation next. What an incredible album. Damnation is here. It has to go somewhere. This is without a doubt the most unique album in Opeth's discography. Stripping away the usual death metal aggression, Damnation is a deeply melancholic and introspective masterpiece filled with hauntingly beautiful melodies and intricate songwriting. Recorded alongside Deliverance, these two albums were originally conceived as a double release, Deliverance showcasing Opeth's heaviest, most punishing side, while Damnation explored their softer, more progressive rock influences. Though released separately, Damnation stands as a fascinating counterpoint to its heavier sibling, offering a completely different experience. From start to fucking finish, Damnation is drenched in emotion, with Mikael Åkerfeldt's exclusively using clean vocals. His voice on this album is angelic, delicate, and hauntingly expressive. Tracks like Window Pane and In My Time of Need are absolutely mesmerizing, filled with lush acoustic passages and hypnotic melodies that make them impossible to ignore. The guitar solos throughout the album are stunning, crafted not for speed or technicality, but for sheer emotional weight. Every note feels intentional, drawing you deeper into the album's somber atmosphere. Closure stands out with its hypnotic rhythm and dynamic shifts, eventually evolving into an almost psychedelic outro that adds an unexpected edge to the album. To Rid the Disease is another highlight, featuring one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking vocal performances by Åkerfeldt he has ever delivered. The drumming on this track is particularly excellent, adding subtle complexity to the song's slow-burning intensity. One of the most striking elements of Damnation is its warm, organic production. The bass lines are more prominent than in many other Opeth albums, giving the songs a rich, full-bodied sound. The flourishing piano sections and delicate guitar work create an atmosphere that feels both intimate and grand at the same time. I wouldn't even classify Damnation as a metal album. It's a stunningly crafted, melancholic, progressive rock record that is both soothing and emotionally devastating. The experimentation on this album is brilliant, offering different flavors of Opeth's musicianship that highlight their versatility. It may not have the crushing heaviness of their other records, but its sheer beauty and emotional depth make it an essential listen. A truly wonderful album. Go check it out. Next up is Watershed. Oh yes, what an incredible album. So sitting here in this ranking is Watershed, and what a terrific album this is. While Opeth leans further into that progressive rock influences on this record, the album still delivers plenty of crushing heaviness. It's a perfect blend of progressive death metal and softer, more atmospheric moments, making it one of the most dynamic releases. Åkerfeldt's vocals are particularly sinister on this record, giving the heavier tracks an even darker edge. The album has great contrast. You have beautiful angelic moments with tracks like Coil and Burden, both of which showcase Åkerfeldt's hauntingly clean vocals and stunning melodies. Coil is an especially unique track, featuring guest vocals as well from Natalie, I think her name is, adding a ethereal quality that makes it stand out in Opeth's catalogue. Burden, on the other hand, is a stunning emotional piece with a mesmerizing guitar solo and a sense of melancholy. But then Watershed brings in the absolute brutality with tracks like Heir Apparent, The Lotus Eater, and The Hexamega. Heir Apparent is one of the heaviest songs in Opeth's discography, packed with thunderous riffs, devastating growls, and an apocalyptic atmosphere. The Lotus Eater is a wild and unpredictable track that masterfully blends ferocity with moments of jazz-inspired prog sections. And then there's Hexamega, easily one of the darkest and most intense tracks Opeth has ever recorded, closing the album on an ominous, almost cinematic note. This album is also packed with beautiful solos and intricate melodies that make it incredibly memorable. The songwriting here is some of Opeth's most refined, balancing chaos and serenity in a way that feels effortless. Watershed has dropped slightly in my ranking, but only because I feel there have been even stronger albums. This was the last time we would hear Åkerfeldt's death growls, until The Last Will and Testament, marking a staggering 16-year absence of his signature harsh vocals. Looking back, Watershed serves as both an end of an era and a bridge to Opeth's progressive rock-driven phase. It's a solid album from start to finish, filled with incredible fucking melody, stunning contrast, and some of Opeth's most dramatic compositions. Next up is Ghost Reveries. And I have to say, this album has climbed significantly in my rankings over the years. When I first listened to it, I didn't quite understand the hype. It's undeniably a fantastic album, but certain aspects initially didn't sit right with me. I wasn't a huge fan of the softer tracks like Atonement, and I felt The Isolation Years was a strange way to close the album. When you had the Grand Conjuration, it seemed like the perfect ending. But now I completely get it. The album is an absolute masterpiece from start to finish, filled with heavy, hard-hitting moments and beautifully intricate compositions. It's one of the Opeth's best records, seamlessly blending their progressive and death metal elements in a way that few other albums have achieved. The album kicks off with Ghost of Perdition, one of Opeth's most iconic tracks. The sheer power of the opening riff combined with Åkerfeldt's monstrous fucking growls and incredible dynamic shifts makes it an unforgettable opener. The transitions between acoustic passages and crushingly heavy sections are executed flawlessly, creating a song that is both chaotic and hauntingly beautiful. The Baying of the Hounds is another standout, with Åkerfeldt sounding more sinister than ever fucking before. His vocal delivery on this track is downright evil, and the song's eerie atmosphere, combined with some of the heaviest riffs on the album, makes for a truly menacing listen. Reverie, Harlequin, Forest is one of the most well-structured songs on the album. The acoustic passages blend beautifully with the heavier moments, creating a haunting and immersive experience. And that outro, while shorter than Deliverance's legendary ending, is just as hypnotic and intense, leaving such an amazing impression. The Grand Conjuration is another monster of a track. The menacing ritualistic feel of this song makes it one of the Opeth's most sinister compositions. Åkerfeldt's growls are absolutely monstrous here, and the song's multiple sections flow together seamlessly, packed with great solos and intricate layering. Then we arrive at Isolation Years, a song I initially overlooked but have grown to love. It's a beautiful, melancholic piece offering a subdued and emotional ending to the album. While I originally felt that the Grand Conjuration should have been the closer, I now appreciate Isolation Years as a reflective, sorrowful way to wrap things up. Looking back, Ghost Reveries is a phenomenal record that perfectly captures Opeth's ability to balance progressive rock, death metal, and atmospheric storytelling. It took me a while to fully fucking appreciate it, but now I love it, every second of it. So this may be a little bit controversial, but I got Opeth's The Last Will and Testament, released last year. This is very controversial, and I'll tell you why. Right here, this album is an absolute masterpiece. I'm going to say it, from start to finish, packed with unforgettable melodies, intense songwriting, and most importantly, the return of Åkerfeldt's legendary growls. His vocals are incredible on this record, seamlessly shifting between haunting cleans and ferocious growls, making this one of Opeth's most dynamic releases in years. The concept behind The Last Will and Testament is one of Opeth's most unique and unsettling yet. The album is structured around different paragraphs of a will, which with each song telling a dark, disturbing story tied to the document. This storytelling approach gives the album a deeply personal and eerie tone, adding layers of depth to the already intricate compositions. Musically, Opeth has found the perfect balance between the progressive rock influences and the death metal roots. While the album still embraces classic prog elements, flutes, mellotron, jazzy interludes, and vintage sounding synths, the death metal elements are back in full force on this. The heavy sections hit hard, and the contrast between beauty and brutality is more striking than ever on this. Every track on this album delivers something fucking special. Paragraph 2 is filled with groovy prog rock inspired guitar riffs that hook you in immediately. They got like paragraph 5 introduces stunning Middle Eastern melodies, adding an exotic and mysterious flavor to the album's sonic palette. The use of unconventional scales and instrumentation throughout the record makes it one of Opeth's most adventurous works yet. The new drummer is fantastic, Varinian or something. I can't pronounce his name, but he's nothing short of phenomenal on this. His tight drum fills, subtle accents, and such dynamic playing elevate the entire album, proving that Opeth is still evolving even after decades. The production on The Last Will and Testament is almost is also among their best, with every instrument cutting through the mix perfectly, creating a deep and immersive experience. Then there's the final track, A Story Never Told, a power ballad unlike anything Opeth has done before. This song is fucking breathtaking, combining rich acoustic passages, soaring melodies, and emotionally charged guitar solo at the end that is nothing short of mouthwatering. It's easily one of their best ballads ever, closing the album on a powerful and unforgettable note. I played this album non-stop last year and it just keeps getting better. I've taken a break from it recently because I don't want to overplay it. Some albums are too good to wear out, but I have no doubt that The Last Will and Testament will stand the test of time. Opeth has once again proven why they remain one of the greatest progressive metal bands of all time. This is another controversial pick, but it's tough. It's Blackwater Park. I tell you what, this was released in 2001. This is yet another masterpiece from Opeth. Many fans would argue that this is their best work and would rank it at number one, but I feel there are a few albums that surpass it. That said, Blackwater Park is undeniably a landmark release, further solidifying Opeth's reputation, drastically changing their core sound. One of the defining aspects of this album is its dark, moody atmosphere. From start to finish, Blackwater Park feels like it's sent into like a shadowy, melancholic world. Åkerfeldt's vocals are once again phenomenal. His deep guttural growls sound absolutely monstrous on this, while his clean singing is beautifully haunting. It really is. The album's progression is masterful, with juicy fucking melodies, layered guitar work, and some of the best bass presence in any Opeth record. Martin Mendez truly shines here. The production also handled by Steven Wilson adds an extra level of clarity and depth, and he even makes a guest vocal appearance on Bleak, one of the album's standout tracks. The song's sinister vibe combined with its infectious chorus make it a fan favorite. The interplay between Åkerfeldt and Wilson's vocals works incredibly well, enhancing the album's eerie nature. Then there's The Drapery Falls, a true masterpiece of a song. The chilling, hypnotic melody that runs throughout the song lingers long after listening. The seamless transitions between soft and acoustic passages and crushingly heavy sections are some of the best Opeth has ever done. Åkerfeldt's clean vocals here are among his finest, dripping with sorrow and beauty. Harvest is one of the best ballads Opeth has ever written. It's an emotionally charged song that leans into more of like a progressive rock influences, featuring stunning acoustic guitar work and a deeply melancholic vocal performance. But the album isn't just about atmosphere, it also delivers some incredibly heavy moments. Dirge for November builds from a quiet, eerie opening into a full-blown explosion of sorrowful aggression. The Funeral Portrait features some of the heaviest riffs on the album, showcasing Opeth's ability to just balance brutality with melody. And then there's a grand finale, Blackwater Park. The title track is an absolute beast, a perfect closer that encapsulates everything Opeth excels at. Blistering death metal sections, haunting clean passages, and an overwhelming sense of bleakness. The way Åkerfeldt's growls and soft vocals intertwine with the dynamic instrumentals creates an unforgettable experience. Blackwater Park is an essential Opeth album, a defining moment in their career and a masterpiece of progressive death metal. While I may personally rank other albums slightly higher, my love for this record is undeniable. It's dark, beautifully structured, and filled with some of Opeth's best performances. Next up is Morningrise. It was released in 1996 and it's nothing short of another masterpiece by Opeth. Building upon the foundation laid by Orchid, this album refines the sound while expanding their dynamic range. It seamlessly weaves aggression with somber beauty, creating one of the most atmospheric records in their discography. One of the album's defining moments is To Bid You Farewell, an emotionally devastating song that stands as one of my all-time favorites from the band. It perfectly encapsulates Opeth's ability to transition from delicate to melancholic passages to heavier sections without feeling disjointed. The clean vocals on this track are breathtaking, showcasing Mikael Åkerfeldt's you know, evolving vocal prowess. Another standout track is Black Rose Immortal. Holy shit. Opeth's ambitious 20-minute magnum opus. This song is an epic journey through intricate compositions, shifting moods, and a flawless blend of haunting melodies, acoustic sections, and punishingly heavy moments. Every time I listen to it, I find something new to appreciate, even to this day, whether it's the brilliant guitar work, the storytelling, or the sheer unpredictability. Åkerfeldt's vocals on this album remain blackened, reminiscent of Orchid, but with a greater presence of his signature death growls. This album's production is also a notable improvement over Orchid, however, allowing for a richer, more immersive sound. The dual guitar work of Åkerfeldt and Peter Lindgren is nothing short of mesmerizing, with intricate harmonies, soaring leads, and beautifully laid acoustic passages. Advent is another highlight. Mwah. Packed with emotional melodies and some of Åkerfeldt's most raw and anguish fucking vocal performances. You can genuinely feel the pain and intensity in his delivery, making this one of the most emotionally charged songs on the album. The Night and the Silent Water. Oh, yeah, follows suit with its melancholic acoustic sections, adding depth before transitioning into heavier, more aggressive territories. Nectar is yet another brilliant track, balancing sorrow and fury. Simply put, Morningrise is a landmark album in Opeth's career. It retains a melancholic beauty of Orchid while refining the songwriting on this and production, resulting in a breathtakingly atmospheric and emotionally powerful experience. No surprise that it sits so damn fucking high in my ranking. It's one of my favorite Opeth albums of all time. This is one of the albums that constantly shifts in my rankings, but for now, Still Life, I love that album cover, takes the second spot. Released in 1999, this is one of Opeth's most masterfully crafted albums, both musically and lyrically. It's a twisted, tragic concept album filled with heavy, somber, and atmospheric passages, blending beauty and brutality seamlessly. While it may not be the absolute heaviest or darkest sounding record, the sheer quality of the songwriting makes it one of their greatest achievements. The story of Still Life is what makes it so fucking compelling. It follows the journey of an unnamed protagonist who has been exiled from his religious community due to his lack of faith. After years in exile, he returns to find his beloved Melinda, only to discover that she has been forced into a life of devotion to the very faith that condemned him. What follows is a tragic tale of love, loss, and just vengeance and lust, culminating in a brutal, heartbreaking conclusion. The album opens with The More, which perfectly sets the tone. It begins with a haunting acoustic passage, lulling the listener into a false sense of calm before a sudden jump scare, a ferocious burst of growls and crushing guitars that instantly command attention. Åkerfeldt's vocals on this album are nothing short of incredible, and The More is an immediate showcase of his dynamic range. Moonlapse Vertigo features one of the most infectious guitar solos in Opeth's entire catalogue. The song's progression is breathtaking, seamlessly weaving between intricate acoustic sections and soaring melodic leads. The atmosphere here is utterly immersive, making one of the album's standout moments. Then there's Face of Melinda, easily one of the most beautiful songs Opeth has ever written. It starts off as a delicate, melancholic ballad driven by Åkerfeldt's clean vocals and intricate acoustic guitar work. As the song progresses, the intensity builds, transforming into such a powerful, emotionally charged climax that mirrors the protagonist's growing desperation. Benighted is another stunning acoustic-driven piece, a gentle ballad that provides a brief moment of tranquility amidst the chaos. The clean guitars here are mesmerizing, proving once again that Opeth's softer side is just as compelling as their fucking heavier moments, but the album isn't without its sheer brutality. Serenity Painted Death is one of the heaviest songs on Still Life, marking the moment in the story when the protagonist succumbs to his rage and embarks on a murderous fucking rampage. The riffs are absolutely infectious to killer, and the chorus is one of the catchiest Opeth has ever written, making it truly a highlight of the album. The album closes with White Cluster, a haunting and devastating finale. It captures the full weight of the story's tragic conclusion. Melinda is executed for her forbidden love, and the protagonist is overwhelmed with despair before ultimately meeting his own demise as well. I think he was hung. The way Opeth delivers this story musically is astonishing. It's one of my favorite concept albums of all time as well, blending eerie melodies with explosive crescendos to leaving... every song on Still Life is unforgettable, and that's why it ranks so fucking high. That's why it's second. It's a true masterpiece, an album that captures Opeth's ability to tell deeply emotional stories while delivering some of the most immaculate songwriting. I'm tempted to put this at number 1 now, but yeah, it sits here. And now, my favorite Opeth album, surprise, surprise, it's Deliverance. If you followed my channel for the past 7 years, you'll know how much I love this record. To me, Deliverance is the perfect fusion of Opeth's progressive death metal elements, delivering the heaviest and most intense fucking sound yet. It was released in 2002. This album stands as the most aggressive, yet it still retains that signature Opeth contrast between brutality and beauty. This is without a doubt the heaviest Opeth has ever sounded. The crushing riffs, ferocious drumming, and dark atmosphere make this a relentless listen, yet it remains deeply emotional and complex. Martin Lopez is absolutely... he shines on the drums throughout this album, holy shit. But his performance on the outro of Deliverance is legendary. That hypnotic, polyrhythmic drum pattern will get stuck in your head for days. It is easily one of the most iconic moments in Opeth's discography. Then there's A Fair Judgment, which shifts gears into such a emotionally powerful and hauntingly beautiful piece. The piano-driven intro and clean guitar melodies are simply breathtaking. The guitar leads sweep you away into another universe, and the song builds into a cathartic, almost cinematic experience. It's a perfect example of how Opeth balances heaviness with serenity. Master's Apprentice, brings the intensity, oh my god. It brings the intensity back with its crushing riffs and unrelenting energy. This track is packed with monstrous growls, atmospheric layers, and an overwhelming sense of doom. The transitions between the pulverizing heaviness and the melancholic interludes showcase Opeth's songwriting of mastery. Then there's Reef, an absolute powerhouse of a track. It hits fucking hard right from the start, featuring such intricate, winding riffs and a chaotic yet calculated structure. The aggressive drumming and sinister melodies make it one of the most intense songs on the album. Åkerfeldt's vocals on Deliverance are at their peak, seamlessly blending his deep guttural growls with his hauntingly clean singing. The way his voice adapts to the shifting moods of the album is incredible. One moment he's delivering like fucking spine-chilling screams, and the next he's guiding you through melancholic, acoustic-driven passages. One of the album's greatest strengths is the contrast between its clean and heavy sections. The seamless transitions between acoustic interludes and pummeling death metal passages ensure that Deliverance is never monotonous. Every song feels distinct yet contributes to the album's cohesiveness, immersive atmosphere. The album closes with By the Pain I See Others, an underrated gem that builds slowly before exploding into such a chaotic and unpredictable end. The final moments are unexpected, but they leave, silence, and then you get a little bit of a surprise along the way. Wrapping up the album in a way that feels unsettling yet fitting. For me, Deliverance remains Opeth's finest work. It's raw, emotionally charged, and relentlessly heavy, yet it still carries the band's signature depth and intricacy. This album marked a moment where Opeth's sound felt fully realized, and even after all these years, it still holds the top spot for me, without a fucking doubt. So yeah, that's it for the album ranking. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know in the comments below your album's ranking. This is a very long video. This is close to 40 minutes. Anyway, let me know. It's been fun, and I'll see you in the next one.